Most people think persuasion begins when you start speaking, when the words come out, when the argument is delivered. But persuasion actually begins much earlier, before the speech, before the presentation, before the first sentence is written. It begins with a question: what should I say? That moment has a name: invention. And it's where persuasion really starts. This is Reclaiming Rhetoric. Today we're taking a deep dive into the first canon of rhetoric, invention. Because before arguments are arranged, before language becomes memorable, before delivery brings ideas to life, someone has to discover what the argument actually is. Invention is that discovery process. The word invention comes from the Latin inventio, but it doesn't mean making something up. It means finding, discovering, unearthing ideas that already exist but haven't yet been assembled. In classical rhetoric, invention referred to the process of locating the available means of persuasion. What arguments are possible? What evidence exists? What appeals will resonate? Invention is exploration. Think about a lawyer preparing a case. They don't walk into court and improvise. They investigate, they gather facts. They examine evidence, they anticipate objections. They search for arguments that will hold up under scrutiny. That process is invention. Before persuasion can happen, the material of persuasion must be discovered. So how does invention actually work? First, questions. Good invention begins with curiosity. What problem am I addressing? Who is the audience? What does the audience care about? What assumptions already exist? What evidence is available? These questions reveal the rhetorical terrain. Without them, arguments wander. With them, persuasion gains direction. Second, evidence. Invention gathers support. Facts, examples, testimony, data. Historical precedent, personal experience. Each form of evidence carries persuasive potential. But not all evidence works for every audience. The challenge of invention is selecting the evidence that fits the situation. Third, perspectives. Strong arguments consider multiple angles. What would critics say? Where are the weaknesses? What counterarguments exist? Anticipating opposition strengthens persuasion. Because when you acknowledge competing views, you show intellectual honesty. And credibility increases. Fourth, appeals. During invention, a communicator decides which persuasive forces to emphasize. Credibility, emotion, reason. Every argument contains some mixture of these, but the balance matters. Some audiences want data, some want reassurance, some want inspiration. Invention determines which appeal carries the message. Now here's why invention matters. Most weak communication fails here. People rush to expression, they start writing immediately. They begin speaking before thinking. The result is scattered arguments, thin evidence, ideas that feel unfinished. Because the discovery stage was skipped. Without invention, persuasion has no foundation. Strong communicators do the opposite. They pause, they explore, they ask questions before asserting answers. They search for better ideas before committing to the first one. Invention slows the process down, but it strengthens the result. Because good arguments are rarely the first arguments. They're the refined ones. There's another reason invention matters. It reveals the limits of an argument. During discovery, you may realize evidence is weaker than expected. Assumptions are shaky, alternative explanations exist. This isn't failure, it's clarity. Invention exposes flaws before the audience does. And that makes persuasion more honest. Now consider the modern world. Information is everywhere, data is abundant. Opinions multiply faster than evidence. In this environment, invention becomes more important, not less. Because the challenge isn't finding information, it's selecting what matters. Separating signal from noise, discovering arguments worth making. Now flip the perspective. If you're communicating, invention is your responsibility. Before you try to persuade anyone, ask, what exactly am I arguing? Why does it matter? What evidence supports it? What objections exist? What assumptions am I relying on? If those answers are unclear, the argument isn't ready. Invention is the discipline of asking better questions first. Weak invention looks like this. Talking points without evidence, claims without support. Arguments built on slogans. Strong invention looks different. Clear claims, relevant evidence. Anticipated objections, thoughtful reasoning. Ideas that have been tested before they are presented. So here's the diagnostic tool. When you encounter a persuasive message, ask, what question is this argument responding to? What evidence was selected? What evidence was ignored? What alternatives were considered? What assumptions shape the conclusion? These questions reveal the invention process behind the argument, or the absence of one, because persuasion doesn't begin with speaking. It begins with discovery, with searching, with asking better questions before offering answers. Invention is the starting point of every powerful message. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.